crazy. I like watching First Amendment guys. Just watching Sean Paul Reyes, Long Island Audit, his newest video, and it's really like it's strange, but it's obvious why and how things are the way they are. Like it really is just, there's no questioning this. Like, even whether you're looking at the First Amendment type laws, the auditor stuff, or you're looking at the Israel runs our country stuff, it really is all the same insanity. And it seems like it's made to be as insane and confusing as it possibly can be on purpose. I was watching, I forget. He's one of the pundits that's allowed to have a position and talk about Israel, and I forget his name. He was on Jake Shields' show a couple times. Again, I forget his name, but he was talking about, he was in a group and he was talking about how, he was saying some of the same stuff I was saying, a lot of it. But when he got to the, how much money, what's up, Karen? How much money we give Israel, he's talking about how, they get the lump sum payment and all this. But he was saying that the way we do it is we give it in a loan format. That way they don't have to, they don't have to pay it back, and it's not monitored. He said, if it was a grant, then the spending would be monitored, and with a loan, they just forgive it, and that's the, and then they don't have to pay it. Nothing has to be paid back because the loan is forgiven. But that's not necessarily true. And it's weird that this whole memorandum of understanding thing doesn't get talked about more. And I just think, like, if we're going to talk about the whole thing, we should absolutely talk about the truth and how insane it is to the full extent. This memorandum of understanding stuff, the more I look into it, the more it's just shocking. It really is shocking to see how blatantly Israel controls our country. And when you see how, like, what the First Amendment guys deal with, it's a small piece of it. It's like the beginnings of the Palestinian situation. And you can see how, with just a little bit of push, with just a little bit of nuance, we could be the Palestinians very easily. And it's I wish people understood what's happening here. I'm so much more confident in what I do based on reading the information they want read. It's not like you find this crazy website, this Alex Jones, this whatever kind of bullshit. I personally have a, almost a rule about it, that I read from Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is admittedly controlled by Israel. These streets are, don't know what the hell that means. But it's it's also obvious, and it's so much more dastardly, and like fucked up. It's way worse than people realize it is. And it's not even something to where you would think like people have to, like you would have to convince people of this or that. I'm really sure that if people just knew the basics, they would have an issue with what's going on. If they just simply, the amount of money that we give them, and for whatever reason it may be, I don't think people realize it. I really don't. I think people, people will say stupid shit like, we give Ukraine $800 billion. No, we didn't. That shit's these are just fantasy numbers that get thrown around and they're distraction. Because if you compare 850 or 800 to 150, well, in any situation, 800 is going to get more attention than 150 would. But the reality is, the 150 is actually given, is actually stolen and given. And the illusion of Ukraine is that they are the victims. So we're trying to help out the victim side of things versus the big bad superpower. Whereas when it comes to Israel, Israel is the bad guy. Without question. Like, without argument. And the proof is in the comments, right? They're just going to, they prove the point in that it's just flat out ignorance. It's pre-programmed Goyim ignorance that they thrive on. And I don't understand, like why would you not want to know? Don't you realize, like, we outnumber them, in the big picture of things. They make up 0.183% of the world's population. So 99 or 99.2% or 8%. Like we make up the vast majority. What's up, Matt? We make up the vast majority of this population. And we could all live a much better life if we overthrew the control system that wants us to be slaves, that believes in the slavery thing. And I do think that the perspective on the, like they believe when the Messiah shows up, it's not a return, when the Messiah shows up, that they will each get 2,800 Gentile slaves. And it's just like so many other things in the story, it's sort of ridiculous if you take it at face value. Like, these whiny little weirdos are going to be able to control 2,800 people, each one of them. Oh, no, stop it. You guys, you need to listen to me. Like, it's stupid. But when you look at it from a big picture standpoint, and you think, it takes 2,800 Goyim living their lives, working, contributing, paying, buying, all of it, to give each one of us in our capacity. It's not like they get 2,800 individual slaves. It's just that it takes 2,800 of us to give them each the life that they demand, the Semitism that they demand. Damn shit. And I just think we are, the lack of potential that we're reaching is tremendous. And at the same time, because of our subservient programming, there's a fucking genocide taking place right now. The people that are committing the genocide are calling themselves the victims, and we're just sort of watching it take place. And it's outrageous. It really is outrageous, considering, we should all be living a much better life. Everybody should be living a better life than they do. And I don't know why anybody wouldn't want that. I don't know why people would, racist, you're inherently a bigot. Like, I get all that. Like, I don't know why you would choose that. What benefit do you get from being that negative version of us? I mean, it's just fascinating, right? Like, I've been reading lately the Israel, United States, because it's not the United States Israel policy, it's Israel United States policies. And there's no fucking way that this should be the way it works. And of course, there's gonna be, Dr. Stephen Jaff. This dumbass is gonna come on here and not say anything. He's going to call me names and say I'm not allowed to say the things I'm saying and, crybaby shit. But he can't justify genocide. He can't justify the pedophile cult that he is. See, this is what I'm saying. This is what they do. It's all Hamas. Hamas did it. It's all Hamas. Hamas is the reason why the journalists can't come in. Hamas is the reason why the food's gone. Hamas is the reason why pedophilia cult in the world. And, you're not even good enough to as in charge of Israel, like Netanyahu, Zazel Smotrich, Itamar Ben-Gvir. They're giving us a bad name. No, you don't say things like that. You say how great you are and how victims you are, and they attack us. They should attack you. They don't, but they should. There's no even a bit. It's just fucking dumb. You guys just make up some holla hoax story, and then you say that because of supposedly happened in Germany, that the Palestinians have to pay the price? Like, how does that even begin to work? Why say these hateful things? We never did anything to you. All you want to do is exist. Look at this crybaby shit, right? Instead of addressing any of the things I'm saying, he's crying. Why are you saying these things? Oh, I kissed the wall. You ever seen these idiots kiss the wall? You might as well talk to the wall, because nobody believes that shit. Exactly. They're just horrible, horrible people. Right? This guy, not one time has this guy said, yeah, I condemn genocide. I definitely condemn pedophilia. He's not going to condemn that shit. He's all about the Matitza B'Peh. He loves that idea. He probably practices it. Actually, if he's a doctor, he'd probably know it's okay. Get out of here, he says. See? Look, he can't answer for any of this shit. They're disgusting. And they're cowards. And they're dumb. Like, they're dumb. This guy's too dumb to be able to argue anything I'm saying, so he's trying to tell me to stop it. There's no genocide. There's plenty of genocide. So everybody's just lying. This is how they operate, man. I'm so glad one of these pieces of shit is here so you can see firsthand how the fuck they operate. There's no genocide. We just put a blockade up that wouldn't let food or medicine or anything in for 11 weeks plus. There's countless videos of starving children and just murder, left and right murder. My friend, I will pray for you. Yep, see? Now, at no point does he denounce pedophilia. At no point does he denounce genocide. He just cries. It's just cry baby. He's just a cry baby. It's pretty amazing. And this guy's a doctor, so somebody like me shouldn't be able to make him look so stupid, right? Somebody like me shouldn't be able to point out a whole bunch of shit that then he can't answer. He just cries. You shouldn't say these things. You shouldn't talk about the truth. You shouldn't tell our secrets, you dumb goyim. Stop saying these things, you dumb goyim. Like, this is how they operate. Right? This is the stupidity that we're up against. This is the stupidity that we lose to, essentially. That we're losing to, that we're subservient to. Does anybody think these people are better than us? They're disgusting. Look up Matitza Bape. They came and attacked us, our people. Don't do the... Right. So, never mind that Israel had killed at least 240 civilians prior to October 7th. And the funny thing is, no Israelis died or were taken hostage on October 7th. It's all just false flag bullshit. It's not even real. Right? The only terrorists, the biggest terrorists are the Israelis. They're killing children. I mean, they're raping children. They're cutting heads off. They're doing all sorts of really, really awful shit. And it's well documented. Right? This is what they do, and then they cry about it if you talk about it. There's no genocide. There's no genocide happening. Shut your fucking mouth, you stupid ass. You just get out of here, he said. Now he's back to the point where, like, he's repeating himself because he's run out of shit to say. Because he's a scumbag. He's a piece of shit. Just like all of them. All of them. All the Israelis are pieces of shit. Get out of here. Is that all you got, doctor? Exactly. He's got nothing else. He's not going to say anything that matters. He's a piece of shit. He's a pedophile piece of shit. They all are. They all are. Sounds like you have Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, because Trump's such a good guy. Yeah. See, look at how he just can't come up with anything reasonable. Not one time has this guy said anything bad about the pedo stuff. Not one time has this guy said anything. He's denied the genocide. But he's not been like, oh yeah, we should kill pedos. We should kill pedos. But he's not saying that. Because he's a piece of shit.
How much you say out loud?
Donald Trump is the great... Well, yeah, now that he's playing along, right? Because when he wasn't playing along, he was anti-Semitic.
You can add this on it.
Anti-Semitism. Crybaby piece of shit. Proud to hate, proud to go against your Semitism. He just dissed himself. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. No, all the Israelis, all of them. If you're fooled by the whole Zionist thing, it's because you've been tricked. You know, Zionist is what you're allowed to say you don't like. That's all. But the whole cult, the cult that rapes children, that ritual sexual assault is very commonplace in their cult, in what they do. They're constantly raping children. Their own children, mind you. Imagine what they do to the people they hate if they're raping their own children.
0110.
They're just the worst people in the world. And this is how they operate. Look, nobody's going to address anything I'm saying. Nobody's going to argue the points. Just, it's not happening. Don't look at it. Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. That's all they have.
0725.
Takes one to know. So we've got 5-year-olds here now. No. I mean, I guess you're right. They're really not like equal. We should get rid of all of it. Yes, there are slaves that live in Israel, no doubt about it. Right. This one says Y-O-U-R projecting. So stupid he doesn't even know the right door to use. Right. You should stop making videos like this, says the crybaby. Exactly. Telling me not to talk about it. Isn't that interesting how that works? Instead of actually addressing what's being said or justifying it. Justifying anything he's saying. Pump 5.
How much?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. He said, make you, not you make. I mean, they're just dumb. I don't expect, this is exactly what I expect from them. They're stupid. These are pedophiles, man. Matitza Bepe is pedophilia. What have you done with your life? I can prescribe you can prescribe SSRIS with a signature. I could give you a weed card. You cry in a gas station and spread lies. Tell me which lie I'm spreading. And what are you trying to like bribe your way out of this? Yeah, the nepotism and the system that's completely controlled by you gives you advantage. But you're so awesome you can't make a reasonable argument. There's no genocide. What are you talking about? The only story that's not true like that is the Holocaust. There was no genocide there. That's all fake. But what's happening right now is well documented. It's like it's everywhere. There is no, that's not an argument. There's no genocide. Yeah, there is. They're literally ethnically cleansing an entire group of people. Oh, now it's 8 million. Look, he's so dumb he's a doctor, right? The narrative that we're supposed to say is 6 million, but that's not true. The Auschwitz people have changed the signs and shit to say it was more like 1 million. It was already changed a long time ago. It's just the nonsense bullshit that they give us. Yeah, no reports have come out. Just because somebody says there's literally no proof. Just like no Israelis died on October 7th or were taken hostage. It's the same thing. They just come up with bullshit narratives and then push it and then tell you you're not allowed to question it. Never mind that, you know, like the Red Cross reports, the World Census reports. Never mind all that shit. They don't like that stuff. There's literally been no proof of the 6 million claim. No graves have been found, no mountains of ash. And really, it would be impossible. They would still be burning bodies if that was the case. It's impossible. It's not like you just light a match under a body and the body burns up. It's all bullshit. It literally, the World Census report says prior to the war, it was 16 million worldwide. During the war, it was 16 to 17, 18 million. And then after the war, it was 18 million plus. There is no account of 6 million. This guy's it's 8 million now. All they do is lie and exaggerate, and he couldn't help but prove it he couldn't even try to make a reasonable point, right? He couldn't even be like, what about the 6 million, which would have been the reasonable thing to say. Obviously, you care if you're here watching every day over and over again, you dumbass. Obviously, what I do matters a lot to you guys because you are really upset and trying to get me to stop doing it. This dude's lying and exaggerating. See, there we go again. Just the same old crybaby shit, right? They don't actually answer for anything. It's just the same crybaby shit. What a clown, a joker, says the doctor. Go. Yep. This clown and joker is allowing you to prove how disgusting you people are. At no point did this doctor denounce pedophilia. Can you imagine if you knew that the doctor that you took your kids to see didn't have a problem with pedophilia? That's pretty fucked up, don't you think? Every day, yep, you're every day. I'm not saying you're lying, I'm saying who cares? You do. You care because you're here every day. And why wouldn't you care? I mean, again, you're probably just the dumb goyim you're supposed to be, and you don't care, not understanding who controls your reality. Just how much money we give to Israel, tax dollars, U.S. tax dollars. Do you get free education? Do you get free housing? Do you get free school? Do you get free food? Do you get free anything like that? Because they do. They do. Yeah, right. So to account for the fact that the numbers didn't fall, it's because they were having babies. Yeah, that's the narrative. There were only 3 million of them in Europe at the time, so where'd the 6 million even come from? And most of them escaped here. But you understand how stupid it is to claim that because people were having babies, that whitewashed the 6 million that supposedly died? Like, this is the best that they can do. There is no proof. There's no physical proof. And actually a Jew named David Cole debunked it. A Jewish guy. He debunked the whole narrative of the gas chambers and all that. It's just not possible. The buildings that they say existed weren't capable of doing what they say. Oh, look, the dumb doctors, he's yelling now saying, you don't know. No, I do. I do. That's why I keep using facts and you keep crying because you don't have shit, because you're just some dumbass whose only solution is to write people scripts so they can go away. So your dumb friends in your dumb J friends in the pharmaceutical industry can make money, and then, you know, the prisons can be overrun. You know, you can fill up the prisons, and no, you guys are horrible, horrible people. What we do with our children is our culture. Exactly. There you go. See, he's even acknowledging it. Yep, what you do by molesting your own children, by sexually assaulting your own children, that's your own culture, and everybody should just stay away, huh? Personally, when I win the presidency in 2028, I'm going to give you what you want, right? I'm going to kick all of you out of this country and let you guys have Israel. The last little bit that you'll get from the United States is your plane ticket to Israel, where you guys can live your life being the good, wonderful people that you are, and we'll see how that works out for you, especially when you don't have the threat of America standing behind you. We'll see how long you guys last without the United States backing you and threatening anybody that stands up to you. Go back to where you came from. Yeah, PETA's culture. Exactly. Do you guys see it? Oh, this is why I let these fucking pigs talk on here. Right? And all of you trolls who are here, you know, if you really aren't just a Team Jorge bot or an Act IL user or something like that, and you're really just a regular person who's a troll for some reason, do you see what he just said? Your argument got 10% stronger when he said that. 10 times stronger when he said that. Exactly. You walk them into it. They're so stupid they walk right into the doorway. Doof. Oh, my nose. Right? It's our culture that we rape children. So what? All right, one. There were more than 6. No, there weren't. 3 million. Sorry. Reported to Detroit Police Department for what? What would you even bother to report me for? I'm reporting you to the police. You're telling the truth about what we do. You're proud to hate our disgusting cult. I'm reporting you to the police. Dude, you said more than enough so far. All good. No. See, again, you have a bunch of people talking shit that they don't really understand. Or maybe some shit they're regurgitating still from school. No, there were 3 million in Europe at the time, and most escaped here. This dude just said that being a pedophile is part of their culture. Nobody made him say it. He chose to say it. There's an article I really suggest everyone read from an Israeli newspaper called Israel Hayom, Hayom.
That's what's left of that house that exploded.
And the article is called Bottom of Darkness, right? Our children are not forced into anything. Yes, they absolutely are, especially Matitza Bapé. They're only 8 days old when that happens, when the moil cuts and sucks on their thing. You know how that works. Funny how you're trying your best to dig out of this hole, aren't you? They're not forced into anything. They willingly do it, so that makes it okay. Because they've been brainwashed into accepting things that makes it okay. Bottom of Darkness elaborates, goes into really great depth about how the criminal the ritual sexual assault is a huge problem over there. And it doesn't matter which sect you're talking about or what region you're talking about, they all do it. They stand around in circles, naked, chanting psalms, you know, hurting the children because it's their way of transitioning, and it's so disgusting. It's fucking just so disgusting. Right, our kids aren't forced into anything, he says. What a piece of shit. And because they're so arrogant, they're arrogant. Their arrogance is backed by such stupidity. This dumbass keeps talking. He keeps saying more and more shit. Because us Goyim are supposed to be subservient. 2,800 slaves each. But he can't fucking handle it. He can't fucking handle this shit. You know, this level of stupidity is atrocious. I mean, I think everybody should put out that Dr. Jaff is a pedophile. And he supports pedophilia. Right? He admitted it. How many people don't know that they send their child to this pig who wants to write prescriptions and thinks pedophilia is okay? Like, what a horrible piece of shit. Dr. Stephen Jaff. Should look that guy up. Should maybe find his practice and give it a phone call or two. This guy is justifying pedophilia by saying it's cultural. And that the children don't, nobody's forced into doing anything.
Right.
That's how disgusting these people are. Can I see this for a second? I want you guys to understand what we're talking about here. HAYOM. Bottom of darkness. Jeff, your days are numbered. Let me find you. There you go. There you go. That's what happens when people find out who you are. Okay, so check this out, you guys. So this is Israel Hayom, right? It's their website. It's them. Bottom of darkness. Children raped in ritual ceremonies exposes the horrors. Multiple women recount organized abuse, including ritual ceremonies conducted by people they knew, even close family members. After months of interviews with victims, their families, treatment professionals, and experts in Israel and abroad, a disturbing picture emerges with descriptions difficult to read. Even if not real, the bot ruined the doctor's reputation, aka friendly fire. Yeah, well, that's the only consequences they have. You know, thousands and thousands in Gaza, thousands and thousands in Iran, 24 in Israel, 24. Wait, you are getting all your information from one Israeli newspaper? Yep, that's what it is. I'm getting all my information from one Israeli newspaper, or I'm providing you evidence using just one Israeli newspaper, along with all these other, but this is your evidence. Nice try, though, Henry Brandon. See, at this point, anybody that sort of speaks against me or anything like that, you're outing yourself. Normal people go, wait a minute, what are you talking about here? Ritual sexual abuse, read more, like, what are we talking about? Let's hear this. Let's hear this narrative. Anybody else is going to be, if you are mad at me or telling me to stop or anything like this, you're a real piece of shit. I suffered painful sodomy, truly felt like I was splitting in two. It was a terrible experience, but there's something about these things, perhaps in their strangeness, that's like maybe the hardest component is that if you tell people about these things, they'll think you're crazy. I remember many types of severe sexual abuse, but there's something about these ritualistic abuses that makes them the bottom of darkness. Let's see. I want to apologize. I was scrolling at first. I was talking trash, but you're right. For real. Thank you. Appreciate it, Freddie. I goon to Total Drama Island. I goon to Total Drama Island. You notice how at no point Dr. Stephen Jaff has said, hey, dude, I'm not a pedophile. I abhor pedophilia. That's horrible. Don't say those things. I am absolutely against pedophilia as a doctor. Has he said anything like that shit? Have you heard him say anything along those lines? Or has he justified it? Oh, you're just taking things out of context. Oh, it's cultural. What we do with our children is cultural. Nobody forces these children to do anything. That's what this piece of shit keeps saying.
Do 8-day-old babies have choices?
Of course.
Oh,
That's literally a pedophile. Those kids in the show are actually underage. Don't know what you're talking about there.
Well, they can sleep.
Actually outing himself, digging his own grave. Total Drama Island is porn for our culture? Ew. Ew. Again, this guy keeps saying these things, but doesn't deny the pedophilia. We're just dumb goyim to him, and he's too fucking arrogant and stupid to realize that he's outing himself. Let's see. In direct words and with clear voice, Imuna, a pseudonym, like all victims named in this article, describes the severe abuse she allegedly experienced in her childhood. Organized sexual abuse that included ceremonies with supposed religious significance. Horrifying ceremonies in which religious people, some from her own family, sacrificed her as an offering for spiritual transcendence or redemption. Do you understand what's happening here? He said Total Drama Island, it's a show for kids. I don't know what Total Drama Island is, but he just said it was porn for his people.
It's for kids? That's disgusting.
Imuna is not alone. More than 10 women between the ages of 20 and 45 with whom we spoke describe a severe phenomenon raising serious concerns that in Israel, like many countries worldwide, see, this is where you know.
Give Nick the code that was just texted to me.
Huh?
The code was just sent to me for Nick.
From where? Email?
I don't know.
Well, you don't have any new messages, and
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's only going to take a minute, but no, there's no new emails here. Oh. Nope. Sorry. No, nothing came. Just give me a minute. I'll be done in a minute. See, you could tell it's actually Israelis that wrote this because they try to like soften it by saying, oh, and this happens in other places too. So, because that's what they always do. Whenever you bring up anything, they go, oh, well, what about what they did? Let's see what more. Oh, my Talmud, I'm stroking it fast and hard. Total Drama is making me feel like a beast. So you see it here, right? You see it here. And all of you here that are talking shit, I guess you're on the other side of the coin, right?
And that same book that you're stroking says you can have sex with a girl that's 3 years and 1 day old.
3 years and 1 day old, as long as you pay the full dowry. Because even their oldest, most important book doesn't condemn pedophilia. I'm gooning fast. I'm gooning hard. I'm gonna turn the channel and goon amazing gumball. That's when I really. There you go. I can if I want to, said this guy. I mean, this is Dr. Stephen Jaff.
It's disgusting. You're a pig.
He's like embracing it and making jokes and shit. You know, like all of us do when we're in this situation, right?
Ew.
We all think this shit's just so funny, right? Perhaps the world knows that rape occurs, that incest occurs, but the world doesn't know. These acts have been kept secret for years, perhaps because of their insanity. It was always very, very strange, as if there was an internal logic, but it was so crazy. Very strange things happen there, normalized in a ritualistic and orderly manner. There's a specific time. There's when to say this verse and when to say that verse. There's an order as if things are supposed to be done that way. And now you have Jaff on here confirming it, right? Total Drama Island is porn for my culture. They are young adults, not children. Ew. Ew. Again, at no point has this guy said pedophilia is wrong or gross or bad. Not one time.
I am disgusted.
Let's see. Each woman we interviewed. Wait. Each woman we interviewed during our investigation has a different life story. They come from different areas of the country, from north to south. Each is at a different place in her life. Some are students, others work and manage careers and family lives, and there are also young women barely surviving, clinging on to life by their fingernails. These women did not know each other previously, grew up in different communities, and come from different sectors and religious streams. Yet, the ritual abuse stories they describe are similar in ways that compel us to listen and not turn a blind eye. Some were harmed in early childhood, educational settings, or in girls' schools. Others in their homes, yeshivas, or synagogues. In this article, we present only a very small sample from many hours of interviews and information, and some descriptions in this article are difficult to read. The great fear expressed by everyone who spoke with us is that organized sexual abuse of children continues even today.
Ew.
Victims, sacrifice, punishment, correction, transcendence, redemption. These are the reoccurring concepts in the testimonies. The prayers, the mutterings, the ecstasy surrounding the victims, the extreme pain, humiliation, and torture, the crushing of personality and soul, testimony after testimony after testimony from women who experienced organized childhood abuse that included group rape performed within ceremonial and ritual frameworks. Right? Like this is the Dr. Jaffs of the world, Stephen Jaff. By the way, if you look up TCAP, if you watch To Catch a Predator stuff, you'll see an interview with a guy called Jeffrey Sokol. And Jeffrey Sokol's the guy that eats the pizza and acts like he doesn't care, like he knows he's not going to get in trouble for any of this, so he's just going to say whatever he wants. And at one point they talk about, did you bring up some sort of marriage contract? And as arrogant and as Jaffy as he is, he shuts that down like, oh no, that's just nothing, blah, blah, don't worry about it. But he was actually talking about some Talmudic shit. That it doesn't matter how old she is. If the mother signs her over, then she now belongs to the Jaff. We have a new term. These Jaffs. Jaffies, I don't know how his dumbass says his name. If I told you his name was Jaffy, you wouldn't think he was a piece of shit Jay. You think their names are all obvious, and they're not. Let's see. The picture emerged from all gatherings. Oh, fuck. And now it's starting. Now, for some reason, the article starts really messing up and getting all weird when you start actually getting into it and starts collapsing on itself and shit like that. Each woman we interviewed, god damn it. Like, you guys can't see what's happening, but it's fucking crazy. These women did not grow each other. Blah, blah. Sacrifice, ecstasy within the... We met these women over the past few months. We spoke with family members of some of the victims, with treatment professionals, and with experts in Israel and abroad specializing in trauma and disassociation. A range of conditions from emotional detachment to... fuck. Like, seriously, if you could see how difficult this is to read because it just keeps fucking up.
Popping up ads.
Not even popping up ads. Popping up a different article. Go ahead. Going, like, it's I've never seen anything do this before. A range of conditions from emotional detachment to complete disconnection from feelings, sensations, memories, and more. We collected information about organized ritual child abuse, a phenomenon recognized worldwide. See, they keep throwing that in there. Go ahead. The picture emerging from all the gathered information is disturbing and difficult. It requires, at minimum, a deep and meaningful investigation by law enforcement authorities. It is a religious national mission to expose this phenomenon and uncover the truth, says a treatment professional in the religious community familiar with the details of the phenomenon told to Israel Hayom. Most women we interviewed come from religious Zionists or ultra-Orthodox communities, although Shishabat received additional testimonies about similar cases in secular society. Therefore, it's important to emphasize that these findings don't target any specific sector, but rather the cult itself, but rather direct a beam of light toward suspected crime of the most severe kind imaginable, crime committed in a parallel world, transparent to sight, though deeply dark and sinister. Several rabbis' names appeared repeatedly in some testimonies. Multiple complaints filed at different police stations around the country were all closed relatively quickly. Even when suspicions arose previously about a network harming children in Jerusalem, police investigators, at best, lack sufficient tools or knowledge to properly investigate. Yeah, that was the problem, right? In that case, extensively exposed in 2019 on a TV program, The Source, suspicions arose around a pedophile network that harmed dozens of children in the Nalat neighborhood. Investigators tended to dismiss it as an invention, exaggeration, or panic by parents and treatment professionals and closed the case with almost no relevant indictments. A man named Benjamin Satz was convicted and sentenced in 2013 to imprisonment for committing indecent acts and sodomy against girls and boys aged 5 to 8. Another suspect was acquitted due to reasonable doubt. In practice, dozens of children remained traumatized and required years of emotional therapy. I remember a pentagram on the floor, usually in red. When the ceremony was in the forest, the pentagon was marked with a hoe and surrounded by lit candles in a circle. The rabbi would bless who releases the bound. Men around prayed with prayer shawls, sometimes dressed in black. While the rabbi wore a white robe, there were several men and boys around the ages of 16 and 17 who participated in ceremonies for spiritual transcendence. There was only one time they asked me to dig a hole. There was one time they asked me to dig a hole and lie in it. Other times they injected me with something and said, "Now you'll feel better," after which my body went limp. They would repeatedly read psalms like a Psalm of David. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." They told me, "You are special, you are chosen," and they would insert, I remember, a palm branch, Hanukkah candles, and a shofar. Limor, another pseudonym, grew up in a religious, ultra-Orthodox home. Her father, she says, always acted violently towards her and her mother. Throughout the years, she required medical treatment at a hospital and was accompanied by a professional due to injuries caused by the violent abuse she experienced. According to her testimony, the father was the one who brought her to these ceremonies. Being delivered by family members is characteristic of many testimonies we gathered. Limor says sometimes the ceremony took place in a forest, other times in a secluded apartment. There were instances when she witnessed and heard other children being abused. Testimony regarding additional child victims repeats across multiple cases. In many testimonies we documented, women also participate in the ceremonies and abuse. Isn't this insane? Like, this isn't Goyim making these stories up. This is them telling on themselves. Goyim newspaper. This isn't a online newspaper called Israel Hayom. It's all them. And you can see their fingerprints on it when they keep trying to make it seem like it's okay. Yeah, don't dox anybody on here, Freddie. Sorry, dude. Don't put any addresses on here. I don't need to get in trouble for that piece of shit. I just isolated your outboard traffic. You're bouncing off VPs in Kansas. But that last fallback DNS call gave up your IP. Sit tight. You know, what can I say? If you basically admit to raping children, what? No. No. The little tiny one? No. It came straight out of the box you brought. There was a document. Organized rape of children is one of the most horrifying phenomenon I encounter, Dr. Anat Gur said in a psych. Blah, blah. It's a phenomenon probably more widespread than we imagine. It exists in many places you wouldn't expect. Boaz, a pseudonym, a senior treatment official, agrees the abusers are typically not outsiders in the community. One patient told me, understand, he's the one that blows the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. The shofar symbolizes a channel. The person considered most spiritually worthy blows the shofar because he is closest to God. And he's the one telling her she is evil and that he's helping with her atonement in this lifetime. Do you understand the distortion? Beyond the women who dared to meet and speak with Israel Halom, professionals possess information and content emerging. There's a lot of filler in here. From all gathered information, it appears that in most cases, the sexual abuse began in very early childhood at home, perpetuated by a father, grandfather, or other family member. In other cases, the abuse occurred in educational or therapeutic settings. What I've observed over the years is that whoever endures these things suffers catastrophic damage. That's one of the challenges with exposure. The victims are so shattered, they're difficult to believe. That's the craziest part. Who would think they're difficult to believe? Who thinks that it's difficult to believe that these sick people who have been accused of this forever, whether it's blood libel, whether it's well poisoning, whether it's the child rape, would be doing this? Like, to think that, oh, all these people are just exaggerating and lying about the same story to out their family members and their community and all, like, it just, none of that makes any sense. It's literally just like excuse making. It's cultural, he said. Me being unwell is all they can say. You notice how so many different profiles say the exact same things, the exact same wording, at the exact same times when they're backed into a corner and they can't actually argue against anything I say, so they start saying dumb shit like that. The more cruel and sadistic the abusers are, and the younger the victims, and the more horrifying the abuse, the smaller the chance that perpetrators will face justice because there's no one left to testify. The abusers so thoroughly destroy the victims' souls that it becomes a crime without witness, which of course serves a society that continues to abuse or maintain these rituals. Dr. Joanne Silberg, blah, blah, blah. Treatment, blah, blah, blah. The child survivor. Silberg notes several sources for numerous testimonies about cases of organized abuse in Jerusalem. In one case reported in professional literature, a child abused in Israel and treated in the U.S. described how several men tortured him and recalled an incident where they submerged his head underwater. They put his head underwater. Descriptions of sadistic abuse appear consistently across all testimonies we collected. As in Immuna's story, there was a ceremony like a circumcision that I underwent. I was 10 or 11. It took place in the settlement synagogue. They tied me up, similar to the bindings of Isaac, and wounded my genitals. My father is there, my mother is there, a rabbi settlement. I'm tied to a table, looking at the window and imagining how I could jump through it, how I might tie a rope and rappel down to the stones. I constantly wanted it to not be happening. That's what characterizes it. I continuously thought about how it wasn't happening, how I could escape. I kept telling myself I wasn't there. God damn it. Now, look, the page just fucks up. It's so strange. Myself, I wasn't there. Gotta find the part I was at. It's a long article. Oh wait, nope, this one. Now see, it somehow it just jumps to this article about how Israel invaded Assad or some shit. Like, it's just crazy how it just does this, and I have to keep refreshing and going back and doing all this. Like, this is crazy. You'll never get anywhere with your lies. Absolute baloney. Yeah, this is my lies, says Dr. Stephen Jaff, who at no point has denounced pedophilia or said any of this shit is wrong. He's a doctor. A doctor. Jesus Christ. These Jaffs are just awful. They're just awful. Let's see. Several rabbis, parents, no outsiders so far. Moore says sometimes it's wait. Years she required. No. Oh, yeah, okay, we got past this one. No, we didn't. What the fuck was I just reading? 5 to 8. The rabbi would bless. Organized rape is one of the most horrifying phenomena I encounter. Silberg treatments. My father's okay. I tried difficult. How I could escape? I kept telling myself it's extremely difficult to understand that I was actually there. That is me, the bound child. Organized sexual abuse occurs as noted throughout the world. Of course, they got to say shit like that. Researcher Michael Salter defines it as a conspiracy of several attackers to abuse several victims. Rabbi Furman quotes the article Ritual Abuse in Israel, Salter's definition of abuse, blah, 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 organized, framing context of sexual functioning as a strategic practices throughout which abusive groups instill in the victims a misogynistic worldview violently to control them. In other words, ritual abuse occurs when a religious, political, or spiritual authority uses their position of power to manipulate victims' belief systems and thereby control them. Ritual abuse is primarily a strategy employed by groups involved in producing images of child abuse, child prostitution, and other forms of organized abuse, and does not constitute a separate category of violence. Furman also presents research by Joanna Schroeder, an additional researcher from Germany who examined attitudes among 165 adults who testified that they were victims of organized ritual sexual abuse, as well as the attitudes of 174 professionals who supported victims of this type of abuse. In 88% of the reports from both groups, therapists and victims, identical ideological expression emerged. The ideological content and objectives were also presented in a similar order: justification of violence, justification of sexual exploitation, and maintaining power and control, followed by maintaining group commitment and ensuring redemption. The researchers concluded that ideologies are primarily means to justify organized sexual violence. Rabbi Froman said, however, in his article, Froman argues that some reports in Israel suggest ideology wasn't merely a means to justify organized sexual violence, but formed the foundation of the abuse. Furman references, for example, the Nalat case, which is just one of many similar cases, most occurring in ultra-Orthodox neighborhoods. For instance, a private ultra-Orthodox court writes that ritual sexual abuse is cruel and frequent, accompanied by traumatic, accusatory, and confusing ceremonies. The abuse is carried out by large criminal organizations and/or cults and/or secret organizations with financial investment and recruitment of assisting personnel. The abuse carries for its perpetrators substantial profits, such as satisfaction of deviant urges, commerce, and pornography, threats of extortion, and more. According to Furman, the court document describes the practice of organized abuse, quote, from preparing the scene through recruiting collaborators, from educational institutes and transportation drivers to the ceremonies themselves. The ceremony takes place under the leadership of an important rabbi. After a Torah lesson, approximately every 2 weeks, parents gather with their children for what is called soul correction. All couples recite psalms together, sing verses repeatedly with melody, all while standing without clothes. They stand in a circle, naked, praying, lighting candles. The children are positioned in the middle of the circle, also naked. In documents intended for parents, educators, and rabbis, the ultra-Orthodox court Shari Mishpat in Jerusalem details numerous methods and actions taken by abusers, aiming to warn and raise awareness of this spreading phenomenon and to protect children. Among other things, the document states to shield themselves from exposure, abusers deliberately act in extreme ways contrary to logic. Quote, so that even if the children tell, they will sound completely delusional. Who would hear their child say, I was raped, I was assaulted in this way, and be like, oh, that's delusional? Other than people who experience the same thing. To humiliate children and instill feelings of guilt and shame, perpetrators show them pictures of themselves naked or give them food while telling them they ate carrion. What's carrion? Organize mock wedding ceremonies between children, force them to eat feces, and stage their burials. They collapse all self-trust and ability to resist, Froman said. The regular and frequent abuse is so destructive that the children despair of normality, and the abuse becomes their life routine. Psychiatrists have diagnosed a complete personality fracture in the normal part, allowing the child to continue functioning normally in school. According to Silberg, in each group, individual participants may have their own motives, such as sexual deviations, bizarre ideological afflictions that include conducting ceremonies, or economic enrichment, for example, through human trafficking for sexual exploitation or producing images of child sexual abuse. These motives are not necessarily shared by all members. Gotta throw that out there, right? Dr. Silberg further notes that networks engaged in producing and distributing child exploitation materials, including organized abuse, have been exposed worldwide, because they got to keep trying to, it's happening everywhere else too. And despite the reoccurring, almost ideological skepticism, there have been several successful convictions of members of organized abuse networks worldwide. Yeah, just not there, not in Israel. That's how you can tell they wrote this, because they're still trying to soften the blow by making it sound like it's not just them. Over the years, there have been multiple examples of cases where authorities successfully exposed and convicted members of such networks, according to Silberg, as well as other researchers. Since the development of the internet, and especially the emergence of peer-to-peer networks and the dark web, the phenomenon of sexual assaults on children has intensified significantly. These are the youngest and most vulnerable victims in society, it is claimed. Live streaming platforms from home allow children to be exploited in front of a camera, and videos of the acts to be broadcast worldwide without leaving traces. On the other side of the screen, cyber investigation specialists recognize the high demand among consumers for the most horrific videos, including sadistic abuse of children. In a conversation with Israel Hayom, Dr. Silberg emphasizes the extreme difficulty in tracking members of such organizations, as most activity occurs on the dark web, and the police are involved, and the rabbis and all that are involved. So it's like, we all know what happens when famous people or powerful people get in trouble. They don't get in trouble. Again, we have Dr. Stephen Jaffe here saying blah, blah, blah. He's not condemning what's being read. He's not saying, that's just a small section of us. Don't think of us like that. This is terrible. I hate this. I'm so opposed to this. He's not saying anything like that. He's just blah, 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 acting like it's no big deal. Do you guys see this? I couldn't ask for a better example. Right? This is why I do what I do, because of the Stephen Jaffs of the world, who are doctors that people send their children to. And he just wants to write prescriptions for people left and right, because he gets all those kickbacks from the Jays that own the pharmaceutical companies. It's one big club and you ain't in it. Yep. See, and you have to love it how there's people here that are mad because I'm saying these things. Who the fuck is going to get mad about these things? Like, who's going to get mad and tell me to stop? How many of you think I should stop? How many of you don't think the problem is me and not these disgusting pedophiles? Ritual fucking sexual abuse. This is just so huge. And again, this is them telling on themselves. Let's see. Among other things. Oh, wait, no, yeah. Nowhere knows. Because I have to keep refreshing and keep. Oh, look. Dr. Stephen Jeff tells me to stop. He's telling me I need to stop. Why would anybody want me to stop reading this? Shouldn't this be something everybody knows so we can band together and eliminate it? Isn't that the normal thought process? But this guy's saying, you should stop talking about this. Stop it. I had hoped that in Israel there would be an understanding that this is an international phenomenon and that there would be a cooperation between Israeli authorities and other countries, she said. But in practice, when a complaint arrives and a case is opened in Israel, the police did not conduct the investigation properly. The investigators treated each case as if it were isolated. If you separate each case and you don't look at the overall picture, you don't ask where all the dots lead. And perhaps they did their best and the attackers were simply more sophisticated. See, she's trying to make it sound like it's not as bad. The police did their best. They just didn't have the ability to do it. That's the problem. They did their very best. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to, Aaliyah says. Or Ayala says, crying. I never want to again, ever. I don't want to. No, no, no. At school, the teachers are scary. I don't want them to take me from school. I don't want to go to that class anymore. Elia's words blend with tears. In these very moments, she is pulled backward with the memory of the attack. Although chronologically she is 25 years old, right now she is 9 and... God damn it. And nothing can convince her that the danger has passed. Even when her partner reminds her, you know you're grown up now, right? Trying to bring her back to the present, she remains terrified, trembling deep in the past. Right, because this is just fake. This is just fake. Like many victims we met, Elia also struggles with disassociation challenges. This is a survival disconnection mechanism that protects the child's psyche during the abuse, which we'll explain later. Elia grew up in a religious settlement in a family with many children. In many community settlements, children wander around alone, she said. After years of sharp deterioration in her mental state, including severe anxiety attacks, self-harm, suicidal thoughts, severe suicide attempts, and ongoing suffering, she developed the clear internal knowledge that she had been raped. The memories began surfacing in severe flashbacks in which, to this day, she re-experiences the abuse incidents she endured. This, too, is a known phenomenon that repeats itself in some cases we encountered. Professor David Brom, a clinical psychologist, and the manager, blah, 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 blah. Aaliyah is heard detailing a memory attack, describing how they take her from school to a frightening place where they beat her, tie her up, and lead her to a place where things happen that cause her pain. She talks about rabbis who abuse her and control her with statements about having a direct connection with God. The form of the conversation is familiar to me as a conversation with a woman with dissociative identity disorder. I have seen such phenomenon in the clinic quite frequently. Since 1990, I have repeatedly met children and adults who tell of organized abuse by men who not only sexually abuse, but also film their acts. Some abuse occurred in a building and some in the forest, Elias continues. Some in a cemetery and some in a synagogue. In all kinds of unusual places. In the building, you go downstairs and reach a very messy room with many tools, paint cans, and many boards. In the middle of the room is a bed, more like a wooden table. It seems there are more rooms there, because there are incidents where I clearly remember being in one room and hearing children being abused in another room, and then I know what they'll do to me. I hear children screaming, crying. It's always a dark place. There are between 6 and 9 men there. They tie me to a bed by my hands and feet, stand in a circle, mutter prayers or blessings, and there's the rabbi who always leads the situation and tells everyone what to do, and everyone listens to him. There's a ceremony, and each one of them rapes me. Sometimes the great rabbi arrives, and then he leads the ceremony. He speaks with God, and God tells him what to do. He puts one hand on my heart. He puts one hand on my heart and one hand on my genitals, and it hurts when he talks to God. There are times when I scream, and there are situations where I stop because I know they'll hit me in the head. There were cases where I didn't cooperate or cried, and I knew I deserved punishment. There were various punishments, bizarre things. They put my head in a bucket of water for a long time, beat me with a cable. There's also a ritual bath and purification. That's the mikvah. That happens all the time. I am absolutely not your brother, you piece of shit pedo. Dr. Stephen Jaff the pedo, Jaffe the pedo. Yeah, not your brother, you piece of shit. There are various punishments. For a long time, beat me with a cable. There was a ritual bath and purification where they clean me thoroughly and then immerse in a water source and explain to me I need to be pure. That's what the mikvah is. The mikvah is built before the temple is built. The mikvah is the thing that the women have to do every month after their period. They have to go get checked and cleansed at the mikvah. It's disgusting. It's so fucking gross. There was one time they took out a Torah scroll and opened it to the binding of Isaac. One of them read, and they simply did what they were reading to me. They tied me up, put a knife to my neck, and said, God said to lower the knife. Then there was rape. There was an event in a cemetery, and I saw a place with stones that had many words written on them. And then they told me to enter a hole, and they covered me with sand. It's not clear to me how I remained alive. Noya was sexually abused by educational figures who cared for her in early childhood. These people, she says, invited additional men to the setting who participated in ritual abuse. The abusers acted with severe violence and used extreme and strong sensory stimuli, which helped her consciousness split. I always had symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. I was hospitalized, had nightmares and eating disorders. I also had flashbacks of small fragments of the moments from the abuse, but I didn't understand their meaning. In adolescence, dissociative attacks began that looked like epileptic seizures. When I would return home beaten and bruised from abuse, for example, with a head injury or blood from my lips, I said I had a seizure on the stairs. And, it happened to their parents. So the parents knew what the fuck was going on. Right? He's absolutely not a man. He's a tiny little piece of shit that needs to be destroyed. Yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure some random bot profile just happens to be a patient of Dr. Jaffe out of the 10 people that are here. That makes sense. No one asked too many questions. And at an older age, when the abuse ended, Noya consciously decided to forget. I told myself nothing happened to me. I had a mantra that I repeated continuously. Silence, conceal, erase, move, disguise, turn off, conceal, throw away, disconnect, forget. And I really did forget for several years. During those years, Noya fulfilled dreams and established her life until the difficult memories began to bombard her consciousness. Over the years, and later also in therapy, figures that were created during the abuse began to resurface. What the fuck? God damn this fucking article. Almost like they're trying to hide this shit. Keeps trying to have me look at this, how Israel destroyed Assad's army. Like it's trying to get me to focus on this Syrian conflict bullshit. Apparently, Kobe's a pedophile too. Yep. Kobe is a pedophile. Dr. Stephen Jaff is a pedophile, and Kobe's a pedophile. What a surprise. He wasn't smart enough to actually make any arguments. So he quickly, that's why he disappeared for a minute. He went and got somebody else to come here and try to back him up because they're so stupid they don't realize that the more of them that say this shit, the more it proves this article correct. Trembling. Memories began surfacing and severe flashbacks. We're still. Signs conceal. Great Rabbi. And then there's. They met in the cemetery. I'm not sure how I remained alive. Injury. I did forget those years do go. Okay. Over the years, I did. When there is such massive and extreme abuse, the symptoms are most severe, especially dissociation, says Sylvia, a therapist from Central Israel who treats victims of complex post-traumatic stress disorder due to prolonged childhood abuse. The fact that this position exists, like, why does this even exist? Why are there doctors that do this shit? My attack dog, Lauer. What's a Lauer? Are you a doctor who can't spell lawyer? Your dumb Goldberg lawyer won't do shit. You can't and won't do shit to me because you're a fucking piece of shit coward. And as Matt said, you slandered yourself. You're the one that acknowledged it. You're the one that still hasn't denounced pedophilia or anything said in here, ritual sexual abuse. You said that shit's cultural. It's one thing to begin against pedos. It's another thing to entirely promote, drug-fueled psychosis. It's my drug-fueled psychosis because I'm reading you an article. Again, who the fuck is this pedo? Can't even read their name. It's all goofy shit. Sounds like you want to settle this in court. Look me up in Really Big Dog. In Really Big Dog. Settle this in court. Go right ahead. Do whatever you think you can do, you fucking pedo. You won't do it because you'll out yourself. That's the thing. These cowards always make these crybaby claims that they'll do this and they'll do that. They can't. If they did, they'd out themselves. So he knows he's not going to say it. He's trying to threaten me and scare me into stopping because, he's a dumb J and he's a doctor, so he has money and he has a dumb J lawyer. They're not dumb enough to fucking out themselves like that. It's one thing to out yourself on my YouTube feed with 14 viewers. It's another thing to do it out in the open in court. Because you'll just pay me, that's all. Oh, we got a crew reporting. Let's see. Channel activity. Joined an hour ago with no subscribers. Uh-oh. Looks like he's got to go. Another fake account. Wow, he actually has two of the same profiles. Joined an hour ago. Two of the same profiles. Same name and everything. Oh no, that comment just stayed here for some reason. That's weird. If you don't understand where my hatred comes from, you're not listening to this article. And this is just a small piece. This is a defense mechanism of the psyche that is expressed in disconnection at different levels. It can be disassociation from body sensations, from emotions, from thoughts, and from memories. Disassociation allows the victim to get up the next morning and conduct life as usual, to go to school, play with friends, learn, and build her personality despite the massive threat she is under. The mechanism is activated during the abuse as a response to the existential threat or unbearable pain, or as a result of the use of consciousness-altering substances by the abusers. Dr. Sagit, blah, 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 a clinical psychologist specializing in trauma for sexual abuse, dissociative identity disorder, autism, recognized as interclinical cases, dissociative connections, and patients coping with dissociative identity disorder, DID. Today, we're discovering that dissociative identity disorder is more common than previously thought. Many of those affected are not diagnosed. Either they hide it or they don't acknowledge it to themselves. Many of them are hospitalized and receive incorrect diagnosis. Many psychiatrists are not familiar enough with the phenomenon. I don't really care. According to her, this is a mechanism created as a defense response to intense physical or emotional pain when there is no possibility or it's dangerous to fight or flee, and parts of the experience are extracted from the accessible streams of consciousness. When the abuse is repetitive, the system of identities may be formed. A system of identities may be formed that carries the traumas while disconnecting the memories and feelings associated with them from normal consciousness. Based on testimonies from around the world over the years, there are situations where abusers are aware of the possibility of producing such a disorder in young children. One patient underwent repeated sadistic attack with the abusers intending to cause a split in consciousness so she wouldn't remember and wouldn't tell. When she was an adult, she even met one of the attackers in a mall and didn't recognize him. I mean, it's fucking clear. Like, this is what happens, right? This is the kind of shit that happens. This is very, commonplace. There is an atmosphere of excitement, as if we're performing the most sacred and elevated act in the world. I was very young. In the images, people and verses appeared. I have scars on my genitals. They injured and damaged them. It involved tremendous cruelty, abuse, humiliation, control, and ownership, all disguised as religion and elevated spiritual work. It's appropriating God to serve urges. This remains central to my traumas. While such specific events may have happened once, the abuse itself becomes a way of life, creating enormous internal destruction. So yes, the damage and implications are terrible. Through his extensive experience, Boaz has encountered dozens of cult survivors harmed in ceremonies, but also many patients harmed through home-based ceremonies, typically by fathers or uncles who, chronically over the years, employed ceremonies they invented, incorporating religious texts and content. According to him, this represents consciousness control. The child is forced into a tailored role. If told, for example, they came to repair the world and must therefore suffer, or that suffering must intensify beyond what they have already learned to survive because they are the chosen victim. The child is told that if not they, another family child would be chosen for the sacrifice. And most people aren't going to be like, okay, take my little brother. Most siblings are going to do everything they can to protect their sibling, which means they're going to put themselves in these horrible positions. Yup. We got Kobe here, the admitted pedophile. Another admitted pedo. Ceremonies include invented prayers, mutterings, and songs with religious text. I believe that through these mantras and mutterings, not only does the victim disassociate, but the abuser creates disassociation for himself. Immediately afterward, he can attend synagogue and blow the shofar. Shofar. God damn it. This fucking shit. And we gotta go all the way back now and reload it, because for some reason they want me to know about how Israel destroyed Assad's navy way more than this. I've never seen an article that does this. Here we come. You talk an awful lot about pedophilia. Yep, and I'm going to. Until the day that we can legally kill you motherfuckers for being the sick pieces of shit you are and we rid the world of you, yes, I'm going to focus on that first and foremost. Yep, which of course that makes me the bad guy. This is all they can do. You spelled it correct. SHOFAR. God damn it. All right, here we are. Today we're discovering that dissociative identity, blah, blah, blah. Many psychiatrists are not familiar enough with the phenomenon, and it's important they understand that these can be patients who lead normal lives, work, study, raise children. There are real gaps between normative functioning and the abyss that aren't expressed in the outside world, according to her. We read this part. See, it's so hard to keep reading this shit because it keeps flipping. Oh, ceremonies, okay. There are cases of institutionalized organizations worldwide where techniques for creating disassociation in children follow consistent patterns. I think the abusers I encountered through my patients were diabolically sophisticated, but in my opinion, they didn't learn these methods from some manual. They developed them through intuition. Oh yeah, they weren't taught that. They just manifested it. It is as if evil itself has intuition. In one case, a patient underwent massive abuse that caused physical injury, extreme humiliation, and contempt. Even today, decades later, she believes she is a creature from another world. Though intellectually she understands this is not true, emotionally she feels disdain for this role. Consider how easy it is to tell a child they were born from the power of impurity and therefore must suffer. These mantras penetrate deeply, especially when a child is abused and brought to the brink of death. Certainly psychological death, but in several cases I've encountered, part of the abuse involved nearly killing the victim before allowing them to survive. In such states, consciousness transforms and implemented beliefs become part of one's very essence. Because what creates a stronger bond than nearly dying and then surviving? Well, that and if you bring them to death and then you save them, you know, then you're fucking with their head, and like you're the one that prevented them from dying. It's so fucking crazy. As we prepare to part, Eden's mother shows me a photograph of her daughter with a broad smile and laughing eyes. Look what a child I lost, she says painfully, right for her sake. When Eden was 25, she began remembering childhood rape. It was highly unusual. She described it as a group rape conducted like a theatrical performance. Everyone played an assigned role. When flashbacks occurred, memories surfaced, and she revealed shocking details. Men from the settlement acting together, conducting group rape with extreme violence, drugs, and nudity. Somehow afterwards, she returned home clean and intact. It's unclear how. She didn't. But since her mother experienced the same thing, she kept her mouth shut. She filed a police complaint and was subsequently closed. She completely broke down from the experience. According to her mother, Eden began suffering severe anxiety attacks and reached states classified as psychotic, though she was primarily expressing extreme terror while convinced the main perpetrator would murder her. She genuinely felt as if she was being stalked. There is an entire community here concealing things, and apparently many people have something to hide, while others either close their eyes or are too weak to act. Eden spoke about 6 men participating in the rape. Such things require secrecy. Fighting an entire community is incredibly difficult, and some people simply cannot bring themselves to believe it. Many women we interviewed describe ceremonies involving supposed reenactments of biblical stories. The Binding of Isaac reenactment, for example, appears in 5 separate testimonies. Nurit describes, they tied me up, creating an imitation of the Binding of Isaac, though it wasn't exactly the same because I'm female. They took a specific symbol, used it as they wanted, and connected to it to form a circumcision. Nothing in Jewish law requires performing the Binding of Isaac this way. Nevertheless, I sensed they were reading text, reciting passages, conducting a deliberately organized, planned ceremony with a specific process. It serves to legitimize evil. Arnon, a senior clinical psychologist who guides trauma therapists, encountered ritual abuse indicators 4 decades ago and several clear cases in recent years, leading him to fear this represents some kind of network. Oh, you think so? You think so? Think about how insane this is. How well known this is. According to him, these individuals distort Kabbalistic stories through misinterpretation. I believe they're psychopaths using Kabbalah to objectify and exploit victims. When Kabbalistic forces combine with sexual exploitation desires, that creates an explosive situation. Anyone truly God-fearing should carefully avoid this movement as they would be fired. I'm certain similar practices exist in secular contexts. Spiritual frameworks can be misappropriated to justify deviations from norms while demanding blind faith. They deliberately choose synagogues confronting our most sacred places. They perform these acts wearing holy garments, pronouncing divine names, exploiting the concept that certain individuals are permitted, even commanded, to behave contrary to normal expectations. But the notion that prohibits the notion that prohibitions don't apply to specific individuals is completely foreign to authentic religious tradition. What makes this dangerous is that eventually they believe their own justifications when performing these horrific rituals you've heard described. They are the most shocking accounts I've encountered in my life, and I fear they genuinely believe they are drawing closer to God through their means. Of course they are. It wouldn't be this commonplace if this wasn't the purpose of the cult to begin with. This is a main part of the cult. That's why it's written the way it is. That's why they act the way they do. For survival, children often bond with their attackers out of necessity. It resembles Stockholm Syndrome. They believe their abusers claim that they serve some cosmic purpose. Part of the catastrophic healing process comes when, after 30 years, a person suddenly realizes, what? I never had a special role? It was simply evil? This creates an enormous, potentially suicidal break because it collapses their entire worldview. Their inner faith is completely stolen. Think about that. That's so fucked up. They were able to justify it their whole lives and live their lives on that brink. But then when they realized that they aren't special, they weren't abused because they were special, they were abused because these people are sick, it breaks them. Wow, this is nuts. Pray and discuss divine providence, how everything has a purpose and God manages the world, but He wasn't there for them. This represents profound mind control, requiring many years of therapy to address this pain. Therefore, any testimony you hear represents merely a fraction of what actually occurred. The spiritual injury is utterly unbearable. Just as sexual abuse damages trust in people, spiritual injury robs a child of faith. In my professional assessment, faith serves as a fundamental function of the human soul, and whoever says a faith stolen will carry the wound forever. Noga reports she was in a cult that conducted organized ritual child abuse until she reached late childhood, explains that there exists some agreement with the gods. The entire theory revolves around correction. The phrase, the great correction, reoccurs constantly. To achieve the great correction, one must suffer, primarily because suffering purifies and advances redemption. The gods I remember are Baal, Peor, and Ashtoreth. I mean, Baal is something we all know about, right? This guy is desperate for attention, somebody says. If I was desperate for attention, why wouldn't I just sell Jesus? A proven commodity that stupid people will fall for. Yeah. Yeah, really, I'm almost done. It's almost over. Fuck. Page keeps flipping to it in the article where it talks about how Israel destroyed Assad's Syrian navy. That's what it keeps wanting me to look at. The gods were. I vaguely recall statues. I remember them saying, "Our Lord Peor and Our Lady Ashtaroth." What makes this truly disturbing is that these are observant Jews who meticulously follow Jewish commandments, minor and major alike. Not as a performance, they genuinely adhere to Torah commandments according to Orthodox tradition. Exactly. They express contempt for Reform Jews while simultaneously, in parallel existence, practice literal idol worship. I had a connection to something I can't quite explain. I possessed both strong faith and innocent connection to God, which they exploited. For a child who is spiritually open and connected, it's easy to implant messages and create twisted distortions. It's just crazy. Throughout the investigation, we acquired difficult, horrifying, and incomprehensible descriptions how it is possible for such horrific crimes against children to continue for years right under everyone's nose, particularly law enforcement agencies. Even we as treatment professionals have an existential need for denial. When you hear that a woman who collaborated with abusers washed the abused child to remove evidence of the abuse, your entire soul screams, this cannot be real. Just as the child disassociates, knowing that remembering what happened would make continued existence impossible, we as witnesses must make a choice, consciously or unconsciously, whether we're willing to believe such horrific things occur. It undermines our very personal existence, creating a command of silence that operates not just externally, but at a deeply internal level. In religious terms, these represent the most serious offenses possible. Exposing this phenomenon is crucial, particularly apprehending perpetrators and bringing them to justice. Beyond the physical and sexual harm, this involves profound spiritual abuse. It's essential to understand these constitute the most serious offenses possible within Judaism. From a religious perspective, this is a desecration of God's name. Many ritual victims are delivered to these ceremonies by family members who also sexually abuse them. Committing the sin of incest. If perpetrators have religious motivation, they're engaging in idolatry. Therefore, exposing this phenomenon and uncovering the truth represents both a religious and national obligation, and anyone valuing religion should demand a thorough investigation, alongside the defensive doubting mechanism that naturally arises when confronting the terror of death embedded in victims' bones. If your child tells you some sort of abuse happened to them, who says, oh, you're just exaggerating, I don't want to hear about this? Who does that?
Lots of parents. Yeah, I did that to mom when she tried telling her about
Yeah, but that's old school. I'm talking about today. Yaya did it because that's what was done to her. And it is. It's everywhere. It's in the Greeks. It's in everything. But this is more prominent than people realize. I love truth. That's why I watch Guy. Only one with enough balls to say anything. You are correct. Along with the defensive doubting mechanism that are victims' bones, understanding the crushing rocks of silence, and the satanic chains of threats that bound victims, denying without investigation becomes a privilege we cannot allow ourselves. The alleged crimes described in the testimonies collected by Israel Him have never reached courtroom discussion or a thorough investigation. Though these serious offenses may lack specific legal formulation, existing legal frameworks, including human trafficking and rape statutes, obligate law enforcement authorities to investigate complaints about the monstrous evil that defies description. Thank you. I don't know what else you need, man. This is just one article that's written by them, about them, starring them. You're either with or you're against. Either way, like, share, and sub. If you don't like what I'm doing, dislike, share, and sub. Do whatever you can. I don't know how you can dislike what I'm doing, but we have to do something here. We have to eliminate this disgusting cult. I'm against pedophiles and with the truth movement. Obviously, I appreciate you, man. It is what it is. You could be a fake piece of shit, but at least you're saying the right things. Go get your free download, right? Keep on preaching the good word. As long as that good word's not biblical, I will. Go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. It's free to download. I know I'm a self-hating Jay, but I'm giving away shit for free. All we ask is that you share it with people. It'll ask you how much you want to pay when you download it. We appreciate the donations that have come through, but you don't have to do any of that. You just have to download it, hit 0, it's free, and share it with your friends, please. Oh, look, we have another channel. Joined 12 years ago and has 12 subscribers. What a fucking surprise, huh? If I was fake, I have too big a heart for that. I get you, but you understand, I have to be skeptical in everything I do here. This is what I'm dealing with. These are monsters. Go watch the movie Hollywoodism. Hollywoodism is the most important film ever made. I'm going to leave you a link to it. Most important film ever made, and it explains everything. And go check out the Facebook videos, some of the videos for the songs, Donald Trump Hates America, COVID Sauce, and Sleight of Hand Job. These will all be in the description. If I'm allowed to do that, a lot of times when I'm done, I can't do that until after the video uploads. So if you want the links, go look at a previous video. They'll be there as well. If they're doing satanic rituals and having success with them, then that means something on a supernatural level. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
What do you deem to be success?
Well, the fact that they don't get caught and all that, it's because they control things. It has nothing to do with spiritual or supernatural this or that.
No, they determine who gets in trouble.
Right. They determine who gets in trouble, how much trouble it is. They pay this off. They bribe that. It's just control. There's no supernatural anything associated with it. And people need to understand that your Bible is a Jewish fairy tale. It's not Christian. Every person in that shit is Jewish. And they talk about the Gentiles as a separate group. Those Gentiles. Not us Gentiles. Those Gentiles. Bots came back after checking another channel on their agenda. I don't know. I've never seen anybody else. I've never seen anybody else in my position that gets anything like this. But then again, I don't know anybody else in my position that does what I do. Because, while you get guys like Jake Shields, who says the right things in this regard, he's still a big homophobe. He's still kind of racist. He's still, him and I have a difference of opinion on a lot of things. And for some reason, he's allowed to exist. He still believes in God. And I think that's the main thing. As long as you believe in God, they have their hooks in you. They can manipulate you. And for someone like me who talks about all these things and doesn't believe in God, well, they don't have any real way to control me then. That's what scares them more than anything. Look at this. It's because you're Y-O-U-R so likable. Sure it is. Do you know how much energy is and sacred a soul is? Do you know how much energy is and sacred a soul itself is? Yeah, you don't know anything about that shit. That's just more bullshit. Let alone a pure one. Bloodshed from the pure soul is basically the number one way to get the universe to expand. What are you talking about fairy tale bullshit for? See, this is what I mean. If you're talking about God and souls, you start going into this fairy tale bullshit that doesn't fucking matter, that can be manipulated. When you don't believe in the shit and you just call these disgusting people out for what they are, it's different. You're unique, man, and have your niche. You're more passionate about the topic than anyone, and it's got me to look into stuff. I'm so grateful you got me into my algorithm. Well, that's how this works. That's why I do this, right? It's a brick by brick process. They didn't get to where they are overnight, and we're not gonna eliminate that cult overnight. It's a brick by brick process. So again, go share the music videos, share this video, go do something to help. Go watch Hollywoodism at the very least to educate yourself, but help in some way. And most important thing I ever say in my videos is,
Pedophiles, kill yourself.
oh, she said it. Pedophiles, kill yourself. Christ is king, says the dumbass. Yeah, pedophiles, kill yourself.
And it keeps telling me